So who can tell me a little bit about your ideas around scripts now? When I say scripts, what's the immediate thing that comes to mind for you?
I mean, theater.
How to have a conversation.
How to have a
Sorry,
conversation.
Candace.
No worries.
I love when people are jumping on top of me. That means everyone's engaged. I love it. So Emily, I heard you say how to have a conversation, right? And Candace, I heard you say I was involved in theater. Scripts is what I do, right?
Yeah, but actually all theater is having a conversation. So it works perfectly for real estate.
Absolutely. What else? What else comes to mind for people?
It is practice, and it was really, really, really helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Sabine.
Kind of how to make those scripts your own so they just sound like a natural conversation and they don't sound scripted.
Mm-hmm. That is called internalizing. We're going to talk about that in a couple of minutes. And that's really practicing a script so many times that it becomes yours, right?
I think that what scripts do for me especially is real estate speak.
Yeah.
And you sound more professional when you have your real estate language intact.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I love that. It's almost as though when you're ready to walk into an appointment for the first time, for those of you that have been on your first appointments, because you put your shoulders back and your chin high and you're trying to like muster up every ounce of confidence that you have. And you're like, I'm going to nail this, right? And then it's like, okay, if you don't have a script behind it, then you're going to lose all that confidence as soon as it comes time to talk, right? Because you're not going to know what to say yet. So what the script does is it takes that feeling of confidence and it just lets you run, right? It gives you the ability to use your real estate language and have an effective conversation. Love that. Thank you, Kathleen. Who else? What are your thoughts? I love that these are positive. Keep going.
Preparation.
Preparation. Thank you, Lori. Mm-hmm. Tell me more about that.
I think that it's a backbone. So when you're going into a specific situation, you don't necessarily have to have everything word for word in the exact order, but it's a good backbone of points that you want to get across, how you want to come across, until you're more comfortable, kind of using the things that you feel work for you and, coming up with your own because you're doing it so often. But to me, scripts are sort of like a backbone for, points that you want to go over or, that are important, because especially when you're new, if it's your first time, it's really easy to forget things. You could be thinking about it all day long. And when I meet him, I'm going to, go over this, and then, we're going to go here and do that, whatever. And then something changes and throws you off or, whatever. So I think that script is nice to have because it kind of gives you a backbone to where to go.
I agree with you. That's awesome. Thank you, Matthew.
I think it also helps you prepare yourself for different types of personalities that you're going to meet too, because you're going to come across some really strong type A personalities or some type C personalities. So it helps you kind of have enough information in there so that you are a database, right? So that you're ready to be able to kind of tackle anybody, because you may know the person that you're going to speak to, but you don't necessarily know exactly what type they are. You may have no clue where it's going to lead you.
Mm-hmm. And I'm going to plug on this one because personality types is one of my favorite things to learn about in the real estate industry, because there are, like you said, so many personalities that you can run across in terms of the people that you're working with. And if you understand the type of person they are, it helps you to know how they need to be spoken to and how they need to have a conversation that's the most effective for them. So if you guys have time, Mark Weiss, our regional director, is teaching a class on that, the 4 personality types of the DISC profile today from 1 to 3. So if you have 1 to 3 available, Mark is like an expert on this, and I'm like so excited. I think I've seen him teach this like 4 times, and I'm going again today. I love it. So side note, very good pairing for today. So yeah, thank you for that, Emily. So in terms of, what do you think are some of the limiting beliefs that you have around scripts? What makes you a little nervous about them?
That they'll sound robotic.
Yeah. Sounds scripty.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Those are big ones. Those are big ones. What else?
I think that you'll try to keep so much to the script that you'll fumble and not sound like a conversation.
Yeah. Because they're not yours yet, right? It'll feel like someone else's words, not yours.
Whenever I go into a conversation, I always end it by being like, dang it, I forgot to say something. And it's not even if I'm like reading, like trying to like practice scripts or anything. It's literally like if I have a couple scripts in my body that I'm like, okay, this is great. And then I'll hang up and and realize like it's still not that internalized because I'm forgetting things that are important.
Absolutely. What else? What else makes you nervous? Let's get them all out on the table. Because if you're having the feeling, someone else in the room is having the feeling. I love that you guys are confident. This is cool. Chris, are we recording? Thank you. All right. I love that there's confidence. Usually I hear more negatives than positives. So what I
I don't
love
want to say I'm confident.
you're
I'm not confident. I actually wasn't able to be here for the entire session yesterday, so I haven't had a chance to do any of the scripting. Now, I hope that's not a volunteer for making me go first or anything like that, but I'm kind of excited to hear it today too, just because I haven't been here for it.
Awesome. Well, I love that.
Nervous, but excited.
So we know how this works. I'm going to do one example with you guys where I will read a script and then I'll just have someone pretend to be an agent if someone's willing to do that with me. And then what we'll do is when it becomes time, we're going to break you off into breakout rooms with a partner. And then you will do scripting with that partner. So it won't be in front of the whole class. That way it kind of takes the nerves off the table, that sort of thing. So hopefully that makes you feel a little better if you guys are sitting there waiting for the time that you have to say a script in front of everybody. You're good. What do you think is have you ever used scripts before in other careers, in other parts of your life? Candace, we know you have. How about anybody else? What has been your experience with scripts outside of real estate?
I think personally, they're really helpful. They kind of just are a way to guide you into what you want to say, like more naturally down the road. At first, I feel like it kind of comes off a little robotic, when you're doing the role plays, but then you'll just realize on the road, like those points that you want to get across will come naturally and come more like towards personality.
Absolutely.
So I actually worked in collections before I got into real estate, and it was all scripts. Like we literally had like a whole script book, and it was like 100 pages long, and you could like click through like as to where you needed to read from. But the more you did it, literally like I think it took me like maybe a month at most to get it to where I already had it memorized. Like I could be at home, somebody would call me and I'd be like, oh, thank you for calling Coast Professional Inc. My name is Shaymar. Like, so it kind of just will be implanted in the back of your brain after a while anyways, but you just get used to it,
If you were to, the one that always comes to mind first for me is when you walk into Moe's, what happens? Moe's
Welcome to Moe's.
Welcome to Moe's.
Never been to Moe's before.
Yes. When you walk into Best Buy and you're standing in the TV section, what happens?
Someone asks if they can help you.
A sales representative will come up to you and try to help you.
Exactly. Yep. When you walk into a store at the mall, what's the first thing that happens?
Somebody greets you and asks you if they can help you.
Yep. When you walk into your friend's house, what's the first thing you say?
Hello.
Yeah. Hi.
How you doing?
How are you? Right. And then your answer is like 97% of the time, I'm good. How are you? Even if your day is horrible, inside you have internalized this is what I say back, right? Everything you do in life is in some way scripted, because if you've done it before, you have an experience you've brought from that experience in the past, and then you'll take that into the next thing that you do, and you'll probably have some default reaction to the world around you, right? In the last year with COVID and how everything has changed, we watched a lot of what our defaults were as humans change. And it made us all a little bit uncomfortable, right? Like all of a sudden we all have to wear masks when we go in public and we can't see people's facial expressions the way that we would just default and smile to someone and act. We had to do that differently. We had to make sure we were smiling with our eyes. We had to talk. We had to do it a little bit differently. That's really all that this is, right? All this is just finding some new words for a new scenario and learning what it is that you're going to say in those times. And then we'll be basically internalizing it so that when, as over time, the more and more you do it, it becomes what your default reaction is every time you have this conversation. And Candace, I see your hand raised.
Well, it just made me think of when you were talking about masks, like it's easy to talk on the phone and be able to hide behind a phone or a mask. But my advice to everyone is I went to a close one time and my clients had never seen my face. So always show your clients your face so they know what you look like.
Make sure at least
Side
your
note.
picture's on your business card, right?
Yeah, right.
Sorry, please put me in the chat. So I think that we kind of sometimes get a mindset around scripts that it feels as though this is something that is going to sound robotic. It's something that's going to sound not like you. It's going to sound maybe you're fumbling over your words because you have a piece of paper in front of you and you're reading it. But the ultimate goal behind this is for you to have read that piece of paper so many times that you know what the direction of the conversation needs to be. And then once you've done it enough times, you can make it yours. Where we see people have a challenge in this is if they try to make it theirs from the very first time they read it. Because that's when you lose pieces of it, right? The reason why everything's in there is it's for a reason, because it's all of the things that need to be said in that conversation. It's how to keep the backbone of the conversation. It's how to drive the direction of it, all those benefits that we were talking about a few minutes ago. And if we switch into making it our own too soon, then we lose some of those elements. So what today is about is practicing exactly the way it is. And then as you do that more and more times, and as you sit in front of a mirror and read it, or as you are calling people and saying it the way that it is, because maybe you've done it 10 times and now it's time to start calling people, then it will start to become yours on its own. Versus just reading it and being like, oh yeah, I think that's the direction I'll take the conversation, and then just totally winging it. Because then you're still kind of in the same boat, right? Then you're still kind of like, well, I guess I don't have that backbone. So I challenge you to get a little uncomfortable with this, to just let it ride a little bit and just say it the way it is. And over time, then you can start making it yours. How's that feel? Does that feel good?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so what it now wants me to do is talk a little bit about what your ahas were from yesterday in terms of how we can implement and move them forward today. So what did you learn yesterday that you think a script could help with? Is sort of where I'm going with this.
I kind of realized that I say, a little bit too much. I was doing a little script practice yesterday and I kept saying, like in between those sentences. So definitely want to work on that.
Yeah.
And sticking to the script a little bit, So I think sticking to the script and, like you said, those first few times going through that, sticking to it, you'll kind of delete that, those little key phrases that you kind of use in those sentences.
So we call those fillers, right? It's the it's the you knows, it's the my husband's is basically, we'll say basically like a jillion times. We all have, a lot of us have those, right? We have if we're nervous about a conversation or we're not quite sure what to say yet, those fillers show up in a big way, right? All of a sudden, mine is right, actually, I just did it. So we will see those pop up a lot. And the more that we practice these scripts, the less that they happen. Oh, I love that, Kathleen. Taking a breath instead of using a filler word, but it takes practice. Yes. I had a coach once tell me that as you are having a conversation with someone, you should be mirroring and matching them, right? So whatever their tone is, whatever their speed of their conversation, that sort of thing, you should be matching. We call that mirror and matching. But he also threw in another element that had to do with breathing, that Kathleen's comment reminded me of this, is if we try to match our breathing to the person that we're talking to, then immediately we become A, on their wavelength, B, we probably will slow our speech down enough that we don't need the filler words. And most importantly, it lets there be natural silence, because when you're breathing in, you're not talking, right? So if you're consciously trying to breathe in, when they're breathing in, you're gonna slow down a little bit. There's this saying we have in Keller Williams, and it's let the silence do the heavy lifting. So these scripts are going to be powerful things. They're going to be powerful questions, powerful words. And sometimes people need a minute to process that before they answer. And as people that are delivering a presentation or having a conversation or feeling as though you're the person that needs to be in control of the conversation, you may feel like you have to keep talking a lot. And at the same time, if you slow it down, you breathe through it, and let a little silence linger, especially after you answer a question or say something particularly impactful, that's where the thinking happens. When there's no one talking, that's when the thinking is happening. And then give them the room to answer back.
I think that's when that silence hits. I think that's when the mind starts to wander a little bit, and you're like, okay, what do I say now? If you don't know what they're gonna say, if they have like an expression on their face or something like that, if you're in person to person, that's when you kind of, the mind starts to wander, and you get a little heat on you, and you're like, okay, like, what do I say now?
Silence
But
is
you just,
uncomfortable.
yeah, it can be.
I do not live in silence at all.
Silence is where the magic happens, though, guys.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. That's where that's where you get the good information.
So when you pause and it's a little uncomfortable, they will feel like they have to respond, and in that knee-jerk reaction, they will give you their most pure and truest answer that they have.
Absolutely right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
One of the rules,
oh, go ahead.
one of the rules to negotiation is to allow the other person to speak first. They'll generally give you they'll give you their objections or whatever, and then it'll give you an opportunity to overcome that as well.
A lot of times we tell ourselves a story, right? We think we already know what someone's response is going to be to something. And the reason why they say let the other person do the talking first, I love that you said that, Scott, is because that allows us to we don't know what people are thinking, right? We don't know what their objections might be unless we ask. And if we walk into a listing appointment with a full conception that this person is never going to list at 6% and I'm going to have to list at 5%, and I'm just going to put 5% on my listing contract because I know this person's not going to list at 6% because they told my uncle so, then you're not going to list that house for more than 5%, right? Because you've already walked in with that assumption. So a lot of times these scripts are meant to help you in terms of delivering a conversation in a way that is not presumptuous and asking questions. But then the key to them is to really slow it down and just let the person talk to you. The person in control of a conversation is not the person talking the most. It is the person who's asking the questions. That's a big one. That one took me a long time to learn.
If someone keeps talking, or if you as a salesperson keeps talking during a negotiation, all you're really going to do is give the other person their objections.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't have to think of an objection themselves. You're going to bring it out anyway, rather than overcoming.
Absolutely. Sometimes we talk so much that we talk ourselves out of a deal.
Yep.
Right? Because we think that we need to hit every point, because if we don't talk about it, they're going to be wondering about it. But if we just ask the question, like, what questions do you have for me? And if they say none, I'm ready to go, then you just saved yourself half an hour of talking about nothing and you can get paperwork signed, right? But you don't know that unless you ask. So much of any real estate conversation that you have is really about asking powerful questions that help people get where they want to get. It is not about you. It really isn't about you. So especially as a new agent, sometimes you'll walk into an appointment thinking, how the heck am I going to get this listing? Because I'm a brand new agent. I don't have the experience that other people have. And I've never done this before. Who cares, right? You have a whole group of people. You're here today. You're learning. You're leaning in a way that your peers are not. You got this. You got this. Just go ask really powerful conversation or questions, and then help them get to what their goal is, and then you will be the best person for them. Hands down, every time. Matthew, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, in regards to the silences, it's actually the same tactic they use in interrogations, as well as job interviews. So the person either doing the interrogating or the interview would ask the question. I'm sure everybody's been on job interviews. It's so how was your last job? Oh, you see you left there, how was that? And then you say, oh, it was, really good. I'm looking for something new. And then there's a silence. And then 9 out of 10 times the person goes, yeah, and then I didn't like my manager, and and then the true things kind of come out to whatever question, as Scott was saying, that the honest answer sort of follows. And it's the same thing in interrogations. If somebody is suspected of something, a lot of times there's silence there, and that's naturally uncomfortable for us. So we fill that silence, and you start saying more than you should, or bringing up other objections, when it comes to a sale. So I just think it's important to be aware of it more than anything else. When you start getting that weird, uncomfortable feeling where no one's speaking, that's okay, because that's a good thing. And now it's actually nice because you're the one who's sort of in control of that conversation, whereas most of our lives we've probably been on the other end of that conversation, for an interview, and saying, well, did I give the right answer, and this and that. This time it's your conversation, where you can pick and choose where to put those silences. So use it to your advantage instead of something of anxiety.
I agree. And sometimes someone could be doing that back to us, right? They could be being silent to see what we'll say. Who knows? Maybe there's someone who conducts interviews all the time and they know that tactic, and they're just sitting there waiting for you to say something. Right? Do it right back. Why not? Let them move forward. Let them move towards you. Confidence is attractive, right? Cool. Candace.
Yeah, so I think, Matthew, was it you that I did script practice with 2 days ago, the first day?
Yep, that was me.
Okay, so what I realized from that day, and like every time I make a make a call or any of that, is that I speak very quickly because it's that breathing situation. So even right now, this is a little bit quicker than I normally would, but I am trying to match you, Allison. And it's really not my. See, I just took a deep breath. But it's not my forte, is taking that moment. It's that talking. I had a client at one point, and she was like me. We would just talk over each other. And my partner is in sales as well. And so his suggestion, if you guys are struggling or you don't have someone to practice with, was to get a recorder and record yourself when you're making calls. And then you can go back and you can go over them. Or if you do invest in Zillow or anything like that, they usually record your calls as well. So you can go back and listen to your first conversation with a lead. And I learned that I speak very quickly. And just like that other gentleman, I have a lot of fillers. And I'm really, really struggling right now to take a deep breath and not talk too quickly. But this is a great practice. So
Absolutely. All right, so what we're gonna do now is break up into group pairs, groups of two, and there's an activity on page 4 of your guide, okay? And we're gonna spend the first 4 minutes filling out part 1, and this is where you're going to write down limiting beliefs that you have around scripts in section A, and in section B, you're going to record a way that you plan to remove that limiting belief. So how are you going to get rid of it? So we're going to spend the first 4 minutes doing that. And then after that, we're going to spend 6 minutes, 3 minutes per person. And you're going to choose one of those things. And you and your partner are going to work through steps that you can take in overcoming it. You're each going to pick one and you're going to do one for each other. Okay? So does everybody have page 4 of their manual for today? All right.
Well, I don't, and I don't even know what you're talking about. I don't know where we were supposed to have gotten that or anything.
Okay, so that
Brand new
is,
to me. I did miss the first morning because I didn't onboard until later in the day. So that
Okay.
might be the problem.
in the chat box, Chris has posted a link that goes to the course material for today.
Okay, I'm trying to open it. Okay.
Okay, so basically what it is, for those of you that don't have it too, is basically you're gonna write down 3 of your limiting beliefs around scripts, and then you're gonna find 3 ways, one for each of those, that you can overcome that limiting belief. And then with your partner, you're gonna focus on one of those 3, and then you're gonna together work through strategies that you can work through that limiting belief. Okay, we're gonna take 10 minutes on this. So we have 29 participants, so we're gonna do 15 rooms.
I'm sorry, what document are we looking at?
So in your participant manual for today, it looks like this is to start. Your Ignite participant manual for Spark 3. We're on page 4, and it's the activity for removing your limiting beliefs.
So I don't know if this helps. The easiest way to find that for me was the email that you got that had the link for this Zoom meeting. You have that email, right? Because that's how you got in here, probably, with that link. If you go down a little bit, there's another link that says Ignite 2.0. Actually, it's right here. It says Ignite 2.0, and then there's another link, http kwconnect.com. If you click that one, that opens up a new browser, like a new page in your browser. You scroll towards the bottom, it'll say participant resources. Click that one, and then it'll say like Spark 1, Spark 2, Spark 3, and then you would do 3, and it pulls it right up for you. So it's probably in that same email that you got to get into the Zoom.
I just sent it as a PDF form in the chat, if you guys can open that, because I had saved it to my desktop, if that's easier.
Thank you, Melissa. Or is that, yeah. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and put you into the rooms. Just give me 1 minute. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and open the rooms and go ahead with that activity, and we will see you back in a few minutes.
How does this work?
You should have got a notification on your screen to go into the room.
Not yet.
I don't know. They floated the idea of having a sign-on sheet for them to get to, or I don't know how it's gonna work.
Can we get, there's 8 here, there's 7 here, can we get 5 or so, or 6 for the nice 2, so they can put them back in my office?
Candace, you're supposed to be in room 4.
I don't.
Hi,
Is there,
Domenico,
like-
how are you?
There we go.
I can't hear you. Can you hear me now?
Emily, you're still in the main room. Let me see if I can push you into your room. 1 second. There, try that. All right, what do you think so far, Chris?
Minus the some of the user issues that I'm having. I mean, things are not copy and paste. Yeah, this computer's
Being a little challenging.
so I'm trying to keep the most straight poker face.
Well, thank you for bearing through it with me.
I'm like, thank God I'm muted, because there's probably been more than enough 4-letter words like under my breath have been spewing out like smiling and grinding my teeth all in one. But you're doing a really good job, by the way.
Thanks.
You're doing a great job. There's been a few moments that, or a few things that you've said for me that were like very aha. I was like, oh gosh, I never even thought about that. So, or never looked at it that way. So
awesome.
I liked the breathing. I can tell you that my challenge is mirroring. I've always had a hard time with that. Something that,
yeah.
When that whole thing was presented to me, my mind was like, I don't even get it.
You know, one of the first recruiting appointments I ever went on was this girl who had just gotten her license, and that day we had just had like some little party or something in the market center, and I was like hyped. Like I had so much energy, and I was like bouncing off the walls, excited. I'm meeting with her, and I'm thinking to myself, this is so good. There's so much energy in it. And then I realized like halfway through it that she had none of the same energy that I did, and I was totally overwhelming her. Right?
Yeah.
And she ended up going to another company, and she went to this broker who has like no energy, right? So it kind of makes sense. She's still licensed. She doesn't do much, but she's still licensed. And I realized that just because I love an appointment that has a lot of energy, and that's great, I overdid it with her. I like majorly overdid it. And that was like my slap in the face about mirror matching.
No, the only training that I ever really got was literally, in selling. I say this, well, not like this. I've had a lot of training in selling, but literally it was one of those things where they said, oh, you need a mirror. I was I was in a model home doing a presentation, like literally on the fly, and somebody was there and was like, do you know what mirroring is? And I'm like, what? So it was just literally on the fly. Like I'm working on this literally with live home buyers that are walking through the door, and I'm like, it was crazy. And that's how I, it's just kind of like, they called it baptism by fire. And, they're like, we don't have a training manual, so just figure it out. Like, oh, it's only a $350,000 house. I'll figure it out. No problem.
No worries, I got this.
No worries. Yeah.
I'm trying to find the Ignite toolkit so that I can put the script guide in just as a PDF.
Yeah, I've been trying to put it in, and that was the issue with me trying to get sorted through this computer. I probably could do it on my desktop. But,
it's not in just the participant resources. Oh, there it is. Ignite toolkit.
it's all the way down at the bottom, and then it downloads, and you've got to save it as a PDF, and this is another learning moment. I think whoever is the next market center to host, I'll be more than happy to talk them through this process and what people are going to need. But, so lesson learned.
I think my pop-up is coming up. I can't get it to. I'm just gonna pull it out of the drive.
Our phone has been ringing off the hook this morning. I mean, it's like every 2 minutes. I mean, literally. It's a good thing I've been muted, because it's sitting right here.
I get it. If I put it in the chat now, will they be able to see it when they come back?
They should.
I hate using the PowerPoint because then I can't see everybody's faces.
So that's been kind of difficult. Like I've been trying to toggle through that and get it,
Mhm.
I think it's just kind of like a limitation with Zoom.
Yeah. Yep. All right, so after this, we're going to do ahas from the activity. And there's a video in the slides.
Yeah, the only other like official script training that I ever received was doing new home sales and floor presentations, but like they would give you positions where to stand.
Uh-huh.
The silence, it's you don't talk, you give them a thinking question to get them to process and internalize the question. It's all open-ended.
There's no video in these slides. Where's the video? Sorry, I'm looking through the. Says the video will be in the slide. No, it's not. It's not in the participant guide, right?
Let me go see if I can.
2 more minutes.
I'm signing on to my desktop. It's just so much easier to navigate than to have to switch and lock out screens and.
Yeah. All right, I may just not be able to do it because it's supposed to be in. There's no link to the facilitator guide, and it's not in the PowerPoint like it's supposed to be.
So you're looking for the video and the facilitator guide?
Yeah.
I wonder if it's like, so what,
I'm moving on because I can't find it.
yeah, no, I'm trying to find, what slide were you on as I've got it on my desktop? You were on,
I need to organize for a second because I have to reread this. Give me a minute.
sorry.
I'm gonna bring them all back.
I'm all the way to 18, 19. I'm not seeing a link, anything.
Yeah.
And I think you were only on 6, correct? Unless they're down at the bottom somewhere.
Yeah.
Survey.
All right, I'm bringing everybody back.
Oops.
Oh, what's going on? Everything switched around.
You're back.
Made it.
Yay.
That was cool. I've never done that.
Oh, welcome back,
This
guys.
technology. Crazy.
So, give me some ahas from that activity. What did you guys learn from each other?
That a lot of us have the same errors.
Yes. Especially when it comes to the awkward silence or the fillers. You know, a lot of those are definitely, and you know, they make it easy to be a limiting belief. Especially with the scripts, like when you're reading from the scripts, it's like, okay, like, you know, if you say something, if you finish a paragraph and they don't say anything after that paragraph, I'm like, all right.
You gotta like break that silence. You just start laughing.
Nervous habits, right?
Right.
I love that. Yeah, a lot of the stuff that we're afraid of ourselves, everybody else in the room is also afraid of, and we're also experiencing.
One thing yesterday that we had with the class in the morning, and I was sharing with Brandon, one really good tip that I heard, it was like my aha moment to learn. The lady was saying, and I cannot remember her name, I feel bad
Carrie.
about that, but was it Carrie?
Yep.
I don't know if it was her that actually said this though, but we were talking about the scripts, and she said that she wrote out the scripts twice and kind of like learned off of those ones, read them a few times. And then the third time she wrote it again, but she kind of wrote it in her own way.
I actually was with Lori, and I was telling her, I was like, it was a really good pairing, because she has been in real estate 6 years and I'm brand new to it. So I was like, oh, that's really cool. So we can kind of bounce some things off each other. And one of the things she said was, as far as the scripts go, to memorize, internalize, personalize. And I think that's what Audrey was kind of just saying as well. If you know it well enough and you've written it out or you've spoken with people using it, then you can, then you have it memorized. So part of that quote unquote robotic script reading is because you're reading, because you don't know it yet. Once you know it, that kind of goes away. And then once you do it a few times, you're more comfortable. It goes away a little more, to the point where then you can personalize it to where you're almost fitting it into the conversation as you need to, because you know it well enough. So that was, for me, that was something really cool to kind of think of it that perspective.
That's awesome. And side note, Lori's awesome. Thank you, Lori. What else? What other ahas did you guys have? What are you learning about each other and yourself?
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just saying one more, so go for it.
My partner and I, we were talking about, because he was saying that he was afraid of like it sounding like it was cold calling. And it was interesting because he mentioned how in our conversation, we got through the whole like icebreaker. And that's something I never even think about. It's that internalized, like personalized situation. And so we were just talking about, because he said, what did you say again? You said, sorry guys, I had a moment.
No, just nice just to get to know each other and then go from there. That's all.
Yeah, and he said that, well, one of the things you used was like the idea of like, oh, so you're in theater. Like because they will give you the information to break that ice if we just stop and listen. And that makes it so that it's more personalized and warmer, and it works and melds. And that was good. You muted yourself again, Chris.
yeah. You just let it happen organically. I mean, you start talking to someone and you find out that, no, you're in theater. And I'm going, geez, I was never really in a play. I mean, you should be really good at this, how to read scripts and how to, memorize and do all that. So, I mean, you just try to relate to people. And I think that really is the key to bringing in the silence, I guess, because silence for me is really tough. Because I have bad way with my mouth. It keeps going once it gets started. So
Same.
And a lot of times we're, especially as real estate agents, we're drivers, right? We're people who like to get things done. We like to move fast. We like to help people. We're fixers. And as soon as there's a little bit of silence, or as soon as someone tells us our first problem, their first problem, or their first need, or their first goal, it's like, oh, I got an answer. And you just go, you just start talking and you keep going, right? And you may miss problem 2, 3, 4, 5 that they would have told you if you were like, hurry. Right? Because we're so quick to jump in and help that we may miss things that they haven't told us yet. Sometimes the first thing they tell us is the obvious one. The second one is they're starting to get to the meat of it. The third's the big one, right? The third one is the one that they're afraid to say or that feels big to them, whatever it may be. Let them get there. Let them get there. Yeah. All right, so we are going to watch a little video now on using scripts. And Chris, I found it. So, all right, can everyone see my screen okay? Good.
Yeah.
Great. I'm going to go ahead and play this now. You know, I'm going to stop my share real quick and redo it just so I make sure the sound works well. Okay. Oh, what happened there? Can you hear? Yep.
Hi, I'm Jeff Glover, and I'm going to tell you the top 5 things that you need to know about using scripts. Step 1, you're going to need to get your scripts from a top agent in the office, your team leader, a MAPS coach, or of course, Keller Williams University. Step 2, we're going to need to do a total transformation of, instead of talking and telling, of asking questions. Selling isn't telling, selling is asking a series of questions that leads to desired response. So instead of talking, we need to get in the habit of asking questions. Asking questions gives us control of the conversation. Control of the conversation gives us our ultimate outcome, which is an appointment set or closing. Step 3, we need to listen with good intentions. Well, what I mean by that is we need to listen to their answers instead of just listening to them talk and asking another question that comes to mind. For example, instead of asking a seller where they're moving to and then going on to the next question, how soon would you like to be there? Ask them, where are you moving to? And when they give you a response, ask them, what takes you there? Step 4 in becoming better at scripts is we need to learn to mimic, mirror, and match the prospect. What I mean by that is we have to listen to their tone of voice. We have to speed up or slow down based on how fast the prospect is talking. That means when they respond and say, we're moving to Toledo. Oh, Toledo, that's exciting. What takes you there? 93% of communication is body language and tonality. And that means only 7% are the words that we say or the questions that we ask. Step 5, we need to take these 5 points and practice them daily. If you think of NFL teams, they practice 50, 60 hours on the practice field for a 1-hour game. Our game is our presentations and our appointments, and we need to practice daily everything that we've learned every single day before we leave the class. When it comes to scripts, my biggest aha is that everybody has their own scripts. We're pre-programmed to have scripts, and we're talking and asking questions that are scripted. However, what we found is that most of our own scripts are no good. And so we have to learn the right scripts, the right questions to maintain control of the conversation. Thanks for watching KW Connect. Make it a great day.
Okay. What are your ahas from that? There's some good little nuggets in there. What do you guys learn?
I like the mirroring and mimicking behavior. I just feel like that helps you connect with someone a lot more.
I think the part about the third time being the, the thing that they are hiding or don't feel comfortable saying or whatever. I think that's the big one.
Oh, thank
Be
you.
a good listener.
Yeah, be a good listener. That could be tough, right? Especially when you're nervous and you're like, what do we
I love practice. I listen a lot.
That's awesome. You'll be good then. But I think sometimes when we're nervous, we can get into, we ask a question and then all we can think about is what's the next question we're going to ask? What's the next thing we're going to say? And we forget to listen to what the answer was.
I like how he like made it about them. Like you just said, you know, instead of like going right into the next question, it was kind of like go off of their answer, kind of ask branch more questions off of how they answered, you know, like he said, you know, they were moving. And then, you know, just kind of ask, you know, what makes them want to move there, or, you know, instead of like just jumping on to the next question, just kind of branch more questions off of their answers, basically.
It's how you sound sincere too, because you're listening to what they're saying and then responding to it, which is going to lead to them trusting you and feeling comfortable with you and leading to more conversation.
Yep.
That's the key, right? People need to feel heard, because if they feel heard, they are going to feel cared for, like Emily was saying. And as soon as they feel cared for, they're going to feel connected to you. And it doesn't matter how many houses you've sold at that point. It doesn't matter what your ranking is. It doesn't matter how long you've been in the business, any of that stuff. It just matters that they know that you have their best interest at heart, because you understand what those interests are. Right? Have you ever like gone to a restaurant and you get a waitress and you know this waitress is brand new, right? Like it is day one, but she has this great attitude and she's willing to help and she's trying so hard, and you know that no matter what, she's going to make sure that you have a great experience. She's going to do everything she can to make that happen, and you just feel this like kinship towards them, and you're like, I'm going to help her, I'm going to leave her a great tip, I'm going to do all these things so she feels empowered, because I want her to have a great day. Like, we want our clients to feel that way, right? We want them to feel like, I want to help this person because I know this person wants to help me.
I love people like that. I like when someone's like, this is my first day, bear with me. You know, they're honest about it.
Yep.
And then setting that honesty right from the beginning, it just, you feel like you have not sympathy, but you're more in tune to want to guide or help them or be with them along the way. And you accept maybe they're a little slow for this, you know what I mean? Because it's just, they're learning, they're figuring it out. It's compassion, I guess, is maybe the word I'm looking for.
And you also know that they're willing to, if they don't know the answer to something or not able to do it, they have this group of people behind them. They're going to go to that person to make sure it happens, because you know how much they care, right? Yeah. So all of a sudden, all that stuff about how they've never waited a table before stops mattering. That's correct English. and it becomes about you love this person because of how much they care.
Yeah.
And if so we're giving that experience to our clients about how much we care about them, everything else comes off the table. Right? They only are going to feel that if you ask enough questions and listen enough.
About previous.
If you walk into an appointment and it's all about you and what you can do to sell their house, that feeling is not going to happen. And I think that the ironic part is it's easier to ask questions and let them talk than it is to do a presentation. But sometimes we go in and we're nervous and we're not quite sure what to say, so we just go into presentation mode. So remember that it's easier to have a real authentic conversation where you're asking questions, just asking the right questions, than it is to go into presentation mode. And it's also more impactful. Cool. What else? What other ahas from that video?
Consistency, being able to be consistent, and with the script practice, even though when we realize that we're able to go through the script without having to look at it, it's important to practice it every day, because that can make a difference. That's what would allow it to come naturally.
Absolutely. So that leads us into our next part. And this is really, how do I practice them? How do I make it feel as though I understand this and I know how to make this and internalize it and make it mine. I just read your comment, Kristen, and I love it. It's always good to check back in with your clients. So this is what I hear you saying. So this is what I hear you saying, right? You're repeating back to them what they said. So A, they feel validated. And B, if you didn't hear it right, they're going to correct you then, right? They're going to say, well, I kind of meant that, but I actually meant this too, right? I love that. Thank you for sharing that, Kristen. So we're going to talk a little bit now about that process of practicing and internalizing. So the first thing is we're going to read the scripts. So read the first sentence of the script 5 times out loud. 5 times. Then you're going to repeat the same sentence 5 times while smiling. Right? So if you're on the phone, this doesn't matter so much, but if you're in person with a client and you're saying something like a script, or you're saying something, anything, asking a question, that sort of thing, you might be so in your head that you're forgetting to smile. Right? So we're practicing that delivery that we want our clients to experience. Then you're going to read the second line of the script out loud 10 times while smiling. And then you're going to say the script from memory, recite the first 2 sentences 10 times while smiling. And then you say the script by adding 1 sentence at a time and repeating it 10 times for each sentence. Then lastly, you're going to say the entire script as fast as you can 5 times in a row. So this is something that you can do just kind of while you're sitting in your car or you're driving and you're practicing, maybe not the first time when you're reading it, after we get off this call and you're sitting in a room by yourself and you just want to say it out loud a couple times. Maybe you want to sit in front of a mirror and see what your face looks like as you're delivering this. That's always really interesting to do. It's kind of a, but this is kind of something that's going to make you feel a little silly. Probably something very normal for Candace, because you have to do this in acting, I would assume. and a lot
You're
of
not wrong.
but it's something that makes you feel a little goofy, but a lot of growth happens here because all of a sudden you become acquainted with the words. You become really, you get to know them to the point where you're like, this is ridiculous. But if you're to the point where you think it's ridiculous, that means you've done your job. And that means that the next time you go to say it, it's not going to feel uncomfortable because you've said it so many times that it feels ridiculous. And then that's how you get to the point where when you're having a conversation, you don't forget a piece or you know how to say it because you've said it so many times in the past. What are your thoughts around that, around practicing?
Practice makes perfect.
Practice makes perfect. I love it.
I like it. I tell my girlfriend when I read a script to be difficult. Sort of like how when Candace and I did it, I was sort of just trying to throw her off a little bit, but not, too much where it's ruining her practice, but there was no throwing her off anyway. But yeah, I like to tell her like, because it's us, I'm like, be ridiculous, be difficult, whatever, make it a little bit harder on, so you're not just doing the script every time and it's super easy and it's kind of like, yes, well, you know what, I would like to buy a home. How can you come next? Like kind of throw some twists and turns in there because I think that's more realistic. People are going to go in different directions that you may not be prepared for if you aren't comfortable with the script and kind of weave back to it from those, turns, just kind of circle back around so that you're still listening and you're still hearing what they need to say or what concerns them, but you're kind of circling back to the part of the script that you want to get or, a certain point you want to hit.
About the script, look, you gotta be natural, you gotta be yourself, you gotta have faith, and you gotta be personable, and you gotta smile. Once you get that person smile at you, you got them. You got them right in the bag.
I love that. You're so right. And right now, our smiles need to be bigger than ever because if you're in person and you have a mask on, you need to make sure your smile reaches your eyes.
Well, you stand 6 feet apart.
Yeah.
My eyes.
And you're outside. You're outside, 6 feet apart. Big smile, and you got them.
Yes. And as real estate professionals, if you have a license, if you are doing a real estate activity in person with anyone, you need a mask on. This is the broker and me coming out. I'm also the broker of record. There are neighbors across the street watching you because they're interested because a realtor is in the front yard of someone's house and if they're not feeling great that day, they can make your life not great. So masks. And side note. There's 2 comments in the chat that I want to share because I think they're great. Adam said, so blank is important to you because blank, right? So you're validating to them that whatever it is they told you is important to them because of the reason they told you, and you're asking them, is that correct? So that is a way to make them feel heard. I love that, Adam. And Chris has the 70-30 rule. They talk 70% of the time, and you listen 70% of the time and only talk 30% of the time. I love this too, because again, as fixers, we like to go and talk a lot, and we think it is our job to talk a lot, and it's not. Our job is to listen. So the 70-30 rule is a great one, because that number's all in all of our heads anyways, right? So 70-30 all the time. I am only talking 30% of the time and listening 70% of the time.
So just to reiterate on that, Allison, and to get you all kind of in that mind frame, your 30% of the conversation should legitimately be a response with an open-ended question. It is to gather and gain as much information as you can possibly can. Tell me more. Ask why. Everything is open-ended. So the more information they give you, the more you have to go off of. And you're kind, and so if y'all are, for the sake of, building rapport, if you're in that type of process, as we're learning scripts and gaining relationships, it's finding what the term that was given to me was a nugget. Finding something that is relatable, that's not going to prompt you to want to talk more about that subject, but to get them to talk about it. People love to talk, period. They love to talk about themselves, and especially when they get passionate about something. So just keep that in mind. And so when you are listening, your response is that open-ended question.
I love that. Not asking a yes, no question.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
Stay away
no
from
yes, no
this.
questions. Yes, open-ended, that's a great point. So I just put into our chat log the PDF for the script book that comes from Ignite. So if you go into the chat log, you can go ahead and open that. And what we're going to do is go back into our breakout rooms, and we're going to spend 15 minutes there. And I'd like each of you to pick a script that you would like to use today on Real People. And then you're going to practice it with your partner and take a turn. So you're each going to go twice. So first person goes, second person goes, first person goes, second person goes. Okay, so you're each going to go twice, and you're going to use the same script both times. And then your partner's job is to give you a little bit of feedback, right? So I think you did great here, and I think your biggest opportunity is X. I know we love each other and we want to be positive, yet at the same time, if we all want to grow, it's okay to give someone an opportunity. It is not a negativity, it's an opportunity for them to get a little better, right? We're all here to practice so we get better. So we're going to go into our breakout rooms. Everyone's going to pick a script. Does anyone have any questions before I send you there?
Where do you pick a script? I mean,
so if you go,
where do you pick a script?
You're going to read it out loud.
Okay.
In the chat log, you can just click on the link that says Ignite Spark Script Book, and it'll open on your computer. So you can
the chat. Okay.
It's in the chat.
Okay.
Yeah, that doesn't work.
The PDF doesn't work?
No,
mine works. It's Ignite Spark Script Book.
You have to double click.
Get it? Let's see. I hope I don't lose you. Let's see. Okay.
Allison, how long do we have?
15 minutes. Okay, yeah, I think it's working okay. Make sure you double click on it. If you can't get it there, you can also go into the Drive folder for Ignite for the toolkit, and it's in there. I also just put my cell phone number in the chat, so just call me from your room if you can't get it. But I'm going to send you all to your rooms now.
Okay, that's good.
Good luck. Have fun. So the trick to the video is you have to have it in presentation mode, and then a little play button comes up.
Oh, okay.
They trick you.
This is a, yes, no, this is definitely, I say, I mean, learn as, I don't want to say learn as you go, but if you haven't had experience with it.
Mm-hmm. And I've taught a lot of times. It's just every session's different. And
Yeah, well, I've got a message from somebody in Buffalo. You know, people just saying that they just I probably should have been more concise and clear with how to get the materials and what, you know, laying a foundation of expectation of, hey, this is where everything is. And so I think, yeah, as I'm breathing, breathe.
what we're gonna do is, if you can put the registration link into the chat box towards the ends of class, I'm gonna tell everybody to do this, like with 5 minutes to spare.
Yeah.
And then they can, and just say, okay, we'll share the drive folder with you. Just make sure you register and we'll share the drive folder with you.
Yeah, because I assumed that the link saying, hey, all materials could be found here was.
We all are information overload. So it's kind of like you either see it or you don't. And I get it. We don't all
No,
see it.
yeah, and I think, you know, obviously, like I said, this is one of those things that I'm notating that for the next person who is going to be in charge of this, won't be as overwhelmed, or there won't be this type of issue going forward.
Mm-hmm. What time did I send them in? Was that
I didn't check. I'm writing to the Buffalo.
10:16 it was. Okay, so they got some more time. 10:31.
It is really snowing out. Good Lord. Sorry. Be right back. I'm also thinking I found another issue.
What's that?
Not well, from the responses that I had on Friday when my emails went out, more people registered. So this may be where so when the email got sent out were all the materials, there's more registered. So I'm wondering if this is where, the material issue is going on. So what I'm gonna do is I think I'm gonna write a quick email with that link, with the instructions, and then this way I think that'll eliminate any more, distractions and kind of lack of, I don't know where to find stuff. All right, that's gonna get sent out now.
Sounds good. Okay, they're coming back, just so you know.
Hey, I couldn't get into the script. I mean, my computer is slow, but we did good. Okay, we did a lot of talk. We did a lot of script reading. I got the script here with the Ford script, options on House of Family. But then there was a bunch of scripts here I ran, but I couldn't.
Oh,
I couldn't get the PDF, or I couldn't get the.
Oh.
Well, if you had one to practice, I think it sounds like you did great. So that works.
Yeah, but stuff is slow. There's so many officers, so many people using computers. It's just
Yeah,
crazy.
it happens.
But we did good. We did good.
Yeah.
Right, Emily?
And I didn't get to.
We did good.
Okay, bye, Chris.
All right, guys. How'd that go? How was your experience?
Good.
Good.
I think really good.
There are a couple issues.
Okay.
One is we were discussing it. There are a good number of closed-ended questions.
Okay.
Which so we need to try to figure out ways to get around those without so that would definitely need to be reworked, as well as this doesn't give you the opportunity for a 30-70 conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, it's more like 90-10,
Yeah. So this is the where to start the conversation before the questions, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And yes, thank you for having those ahas and realizing the difference through those. Yes. So this might be when you're first making the phone call. The Ford script that was mentioned a moment ago, that's a great one for open-ended questions. So sometimes a conversation face-to-face is a little different than it is if you're cold calling someone you haven't talked to in a little while, right? So I think that the ability to go through these beforehand and to know which ones work in which scenarios is part of why we practice. Right, so when is the right time to use which ones.
Well, the phone, you want to make sure the person knows you, okay? Or a reference from another friend, because if the person knows you, the other person is likely to pick up the phone. But if he doesn't know you, he's going to say, who is this?
Yeah.
It's good to get a reference from friends saying, like you have a friend, and he has a friend saying, I know this guy is great, here's his phone number, he'll remember, then he'll call, then you call him and say, oh, this phone number, this guy was a reference. Okay, I'll pick up the phone and talk to him, you know.
Yeah.
So that works, you know, word of mouth.
Yeah, absolutely.
I
Oh,
actually didn't. I really liked it. Again with Lori, it's fantastic. I recommend everyone partner with Lori. But she said I did well, but the part of the script that was kind of strange to me was after you ask if you can send the link for the app, it goes into can I also update you about the neighborhood? And I read it and I made it work, you know, because fake it till you make it kind of thing. But I didn't really know what that meant. I thought that was also pertaining to the app. So I was a little confused on why am I explaining this after he already said send the link, just go and send it, stop talking about it. And she explained that was the neighborhood nurture in command, and I didn't know about that. So if there's other people who don't know what that is, I think that makes the script all of a sudden make a little more sense. And then you can kind of personalize it, even if you know, you're saying the same thing, but just in a way that makes more sense coming off the app, because I had no idea what that was.
Sure.
Me either. So thank you for asking that.
And
My
that's
partner
part-
and I actually practiced that same one. And we kind of thought that some of that kind of should have been like rearranged. Just some of like, you just kind of jump right into the app. And I mean, a lot of us aren't really even sure how to explain that, I guess, when they have more questions. So I think that internalizing that and making it your own and maybe having to rearrange that just a little bit is a better way to approach that one.
Absolutely.
And I think that this conversation that we're having now is the magic, right? This is the magic, because this means that you've read it, you've practiced it, you're seeing what about this works for me, and what about this is I need to rework it to make it work for me. And you only get there when you have this conversation and you try it and you work through it and you see what works and what doesn't work, right?
You know, I kind of
also thought the part with the dreams or mentioning recreation, it's hard if you don't know somebody and you're speaking to them for the first time because you don't know what their dreams are. So I think that first call, it's really good to kind of, you know, fit in what do you like to do, or, you know, how have you been, if you don't specifically know, you know, I don't know everybody's dreams. So it's sort of an open invitation, and there's your open-ended question to kind of sit back and wait for your response.
But I think that you can also use the Ford method in order to get that information. Because I mean, there was a client at one point that I was speaking with and I had never talked to them. It was a cold call, not cold call because that's illegal, but it was like a lead. And so I had said to her, I was just talking, she said, asked a little bit about me. And I just said, I'm from Wisconsin and I went to school for theater. And she goes, oh, I always wanted to be a dancer. And that's just like, and so I was like, oh, so like, did you ever study? And that gives you that those questions to continue. And kind of how I think of the open-ended questions with this is like, I always imagine when I ask a question, an ellipses at the end. Don't trail off, but have an ellipses. So it sounds, give me information, talk to me.
Love that.
I kind of walked away thinking that there's like 4 bullet points that I need to make sure I hit in every conversation. So it's you know, introducing yourself, letting them know that you're in real estate. Talk about the app, talk about the neighborhood, and then talk about networking. Like, how do you get, you know, having that conversation about saying, hey, can, you know, if you know of anybody, you know, so it's like trying to know that those are the 4 things I'm looking to get out so that it comes naturally through my conversation.
I love that. That's a really clear direction that you want your conversations to take. And it's easy to remember 4 things, right?
4 things, yep.
I love that.
It's like the Ford.
What were they again, Emily?
I came away with needing to, you know, kind of introduce yourself as a real estate agent, talking about the app, talking about the neighborhood, and then the networking part of it. How do I get them to think about me while they're, or, you know, asking them to think about me? So it's just those 4 major points for me. so that I'm not trying to remember every little detail, right? Because like we've talked about, the script is there, we should know it, but how do we make it ours? So it's like thinking about 4 things versus trying to think about paragraphs. And how do I get all this information in so that it's a natural flow too? Because you never know where a conversation is going to lead.
Right.
And I don't feel like, and maybe I'm wrong, I don't feel like there's a specific order that this has to go in either.
I mean,
You know, so it's like,
yeah, I like that. I have this client that I somehow managed to go from having like 15 to half an hour conversations in an intro to this lady was calling me and talking to me for an hour. So also when we're having conversations with clients and leads, I think it's important to have that kind of idea of, so you can find a way to come back to the conversation instead of getting sidetracked for an hour of your life.
Yeah.
And this is where going to those command classes and understanding your tools is really important, right? Understanding how to work your MLS, how to work command, how to set up neighborhood nurturers, how to set up save searches in command. All of these things will give you that toolbox to accomplish what it is you're trying to accomplish in the call, right? So the next time you go and you're reading the script, rather than a neighborhood nurturer, maybe you're like, well, this person just told me they want to buy immediately, like they're ready to go. So for them, it's a save search. Right. And then what's amazing about the save searches is that the MLS may only update you once a day. A save search will push it immediately. As soon as a new house comes on the market that meets their criteria, they will get a notification. So having that knowledge around, we're not going to get too far into command today, but go to those classes, because that is your toolbox in what to implement when you're having these conversations. And the beauty of it is that a lot of your peers in the industry don't have a toolbox just like that. So then that will help you set apart. That will make it so that you have something to give them that somebody else doesn't. And all of a sudden that conversation became more impactful. So all of this stuff that's in the KW world is a lot, and there's so much to learn. And the reason for it is to be a piece of value that you can then convey that is quick, easy, simple for yourself and for them. So that in these conversations, you have a piece of value you can give, and it doesn't have to be all about what is it that I'm saying? What is it? How many years of experience do I have? X, Y, Z. It's here's a tool, use the tool. Awesome, right? Makes that simple. So make sure that you're diving into those and taking the time to learn them, because really there's some amazing things in there that just make your life easier. It's really the whole point behind it. Awesome. What else? What else did you guys learn from that experience?
Hey, Allison, I just want to point out something, because I know it's like to be first starting out, and I think people are getting hung up on not knowing. When you're sharing the app, you're just sharing an app like it's any other app. And all you got to say, if you get hung up on it, or they're like, well, I use Zillow, all you got to say is mine's better. Let me send it to you, okay? And just send it to them. Because
you're talking just about the KW app, right?
Yeah, we're talking about the consumer app, because you'll learn the different things, but all you got to say is, if they say something about Zillow, mine's better, let me send it to you, fool around with it, let me know how you think, what you think. That's it. Just send it to them. Don't overthink.
And I think such a strong selling point is that Keller Williams never gives out the data. So if you give your phone number and email address to Keller Williams will never ever sell that. And I think this is such a strong selling point that everybody should add this to their conversation with their clients.
Yeah, I agree with you. Thank you for sharing that, Sabine. And I think that what's really great about the point that you're not going to share about the KW app, and the reason why you're sharing it, is that it makes it so that they are in your world. It makes them sticky to you, because now all of a sudden they have a piece of technology on their phone that's useful, that they can use, that has your name on it, your cell phone number. And what it does not have is a little button that says contact agent now, that gets then sold to about 4 or 5 other real estate agents that are not you. That exists on Realtor.com, Zillow, that sort of thing. So whether every app has its great points and its points that maybe have opportunities, right? And the KW app is no different. Zillow app is no different. Realtor.com app is no different. But the difference for you is if your clients are using that, there's a way less of a chance that another realtor is going to come into their world because of technology. Now you're the person that they're going back to because they're using your piece of technology. When you own it and when it's yours, all of a sudden you control it and you control the data. When they're using Zillow, there's a whole bunch of, we know there's misinformation on there, and then we also know there's a chance other agents can contact them. So if they say, I use the Zillow app, just say, that's great. Here's another one to try. Give it a shot. Let me know what you think.
Yeah, that's a really good point, that it might seem like some of this stuff in here is like, why the heck am I saying this? Why am I pushing my app? Why am I pushing the neighborhood nurture? Well, there's a point to each one of these bullet points, as Emily said. You're providing something of value, sure, but it's also a reminder, sorry, for you, why am I telling them I'm in business? Well, because you're trying to get a referral. Why am I sharing my app? Well, because you want their search to be seen by you. You want to see what homes they're looking at. Why am I telling them for the neighborhood nurture? You want their home address and their email address. You're trying to get their contact information. So it's important to understand the why of why you're even talking about these things, even if you're not explaining that to them, for you to know that it's important to hit the points.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it can feel as though we're only doing it because we're like, oh, well, I have this app, so I might as well be pushing it, right? There's so much more to it, to Adam's point, that there is, it's all there for you. It is not there to push Keller Williams. It is not there to push anything other than the fact that we want you as the agent to be in the center of that transaction. And all of this stuff just makes you sticky. It just makes you sticky. It makes you more on their mind. It keeps you top of mind. It's less phone calls that you have to make to stay in touch because they're already opening your app. They're already getting your email. They're getting all these things. So this is meant to support you. And I know it can be a lot to learn, and I promise you it is a good use of your time. It really, really is. And we know this because we watch it work, right? So I think that the difference between a good agent and a great agent is the one who puts in that time and does the little bit of extra work, the stuff that feels like, oh, do I really have to sit down for an hour and learn how to do this thing? The agent that does that thing is the one that's going to succeed in the long run because they're doing that thing often, right? And they're implementing systems and they're doing the stuff that's hard. If it was easy, everybody would succeed in real estate, right? And it's not so much that it's so difficult, it's just that it's a little time intensive. So if you spend that time and if you pour into yourself so that you can then pour into others, that is what will set you apart from everybody else that you are, every other real estate agent out there, really. Because if you'll learn, you'll watch agents that have been in the business 30 years and their market share might be the same as it's been for the past 15 years. They do the same amount of business every year. And the reason why they're not growing is because they're not doing anything different, right? They're doing the same thing over and over and over again, and that works. But I know that
I didn't even realize that the app was something that you could share. So this is a really big thing for me. I love it. I think it's just a really easy way, like even if you have friends that are like, or people who are, I love looking at real estate. I'm always, so it's a fun way for me just to kind of look at it too, but the people I know that enjoy it as well, what a great way or tool to be able to get your name out there and have them just be able to pop something up and look at something. I don't know, it's great. Love it.
And as soon as they register for that app, as soon as they create an account, so to speak, they will show up in your command database as a contact. You don't even have to enter it, right? So if you're feeling like, I don't want to enter contacts, well, then go share the app and make sure that they set themselves up an account and make sure it's so easy, right? Everything is meant to talk to each other. This stuff is really pretty cool. And I haven't been in real estate a million years, but I've been in long enough to not have had this stuff in my world when I started. And believe me, you guys are lucky. It just is going to make your life so much easier, and it gives you, your clients, a lot of value. So I love that.
Carrie recommended that everyone download it as a consumer as well, so they can fool around with it. So you guys know that's the quickest ramp up, I think, is to just start. And there are online KW Connect, there's classes that each center teaches, but the quickest way for you to feel more comfortable with it, download it as a consumer. Send it to yourself and download the app.
Yeah, and when you create your account, set yourself up with a personal email address. That way you can experience it the way consumer experiences it.
And a cool trick is, if a buyer's asking you about a house, don't send them the MLS link, text them the link to the house from your app so that they have to download the app to view it.
I love that. That's awesome.
That's good.
That's really awesome.
I know there's a way to get to your app? Is it from command? So what's the easiest way to save it on your desktop so that you can just automatically send it off to your?
You can get it off of your website also.
Yeah. Does your market center use Scott Leroy marketing? Like when you onboarded, did you get a Scott Leroy email with all of your passwords in it?
Yeah.
Because in that email from Scott Leroy is the link to your personalized KW app. He has it all set up for you. There's a little link there, Frank.
Is it possible to rename the link so you can just send like a hyperlink?
Yep, you can either use a bit.ly, so go ahead and rename it through a bit.ly, bit.ly, or the easiest way to do it is if you go into the app, if you've downloaded your own app, there's a section there that says share now, and you can send it as a text message or an email or whatever you want to whoever you want. That's the easiest way.
I just sent it to a few people.
Yeah, awesome. I love your dance.
Yeah. Well, I'm not very technology efficient, we'll say. So this is also fun for me.
I love it.
I like learning new things.
Is that Emily? Are you? Is that Emily?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you have a video?
She has two. One she's talking from, and one you can see her face.
Oh my gosh, I gotta find you.
So really know that I'm pretty good at technology, but at the same time, I don't like to slow down enough to learn it. I find it to be time intensive. Spend the time, do it.
Oh.
Just really do it because it's you won't regret it. You won't regret spending that hour and learning something new. And you'll learn in other sessions of Ignite, there's something called time blocking, which is basically scheduling your day. If you can time block an hour a week to learn something new about technology, in a month, you are going to be a different real estate agent. It's just a really, really good way to spend your time. And in terms of scripting, it's going to make it so that you have a piece of value that is just so easy to talk to them about. Because everything about these scripts is always about how can I help you? And if you have a tool that you can give them, that is you helping them. And it's just an easy conversation, right? It's easier than asking someone for something when you can give them something that then makes you sticky. Awesome. All right, so we have just over an hour left, and we're going to do two things. The first thing we're going to do is go through and create our success list and just kind of go through what that'll look like. And then we're going to make some calls today. So we're going to spend 40 minutes and we're going to call some people in our world, and you can use whatever script you'd like, but we just had a really great conversation about the app. So it could be something, use the app script, right? We're going to start sending that to some people in our world. So I'm going to share my screen with you quick just to look at that success list. And on the success list, that's a tongue twister, should be you calling people, that sort of thing, right? And making sure that you're sharing your app with everybody. But basically it's what are all the things you have to do today? Do you have to do them? Are they a priority, or should you do them? Like, are they, I probably should get that done today. Or is that I actually need to get this done today?
Hey,
right?
Allison, I just had a quick question. I don't know if you know. Can somebody that I shared the app with, can they share it with another person, like with that same link or something
Sure
similar?
can. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Is it from the same area, the little last tab, like where I would go to share app?
Mm-hmm. Yep. So if you go, I don't know if you can see my screen, maybe in the bottom corner, you go to more,
Mm-hmm.
and then they'll have the share the app section. It looks the same for them as it does for you.
And it says my name when they share it?
Yep. So as long as as long as that person has you chosen as an agent, when they hit share the app, it's going to look like this. So you get text messages, email, whatever, post it to Facebook, send it in Zoom, send it in Facebook Messenger, whatever you want to do.
That's awesome, because then you could have people kind of working for you and sending it out for you. That's great.
Mm-hmm. And when they have a great experience, that's what they'll do. And you can watch that, because if you're watching your contact list in Command and you know who's in there, you're familiar enough with it because you're calling your people, you'll see some new people pop in and you're like, where did they come from? And then when you go on the timeline, you'll see that they downloaded your app, and that's nothing better than a contact that comes into your world that you didn't even have to work for, right? Cool. All right, so we are going, it is 10:55. We are going to do 40 minutes of calls, And what I'm going to do is you guys can stay right on the Zoom. If you want to turn your cameras off, you can. Make sure you mute yourselves. If you have any questions, I'm here to answer questions. But I'm going to stay on. I'm just going to sit here and we're all going to be together. We're going to do 40 minutes of calls. That means we're going to be done at 10:35 or 11:35. Okay. So we're going to call people, call whoever, call your mom, call someone that you feel comfortable with, right? And then start calling some people that you don't feel comfortable with. Right? 40 minutes. How many do you guys think you can get done in 40 minutes? What are your goals?
5, 2, 3.
5. Who else? Who else has a goal they want to call in 40 minutes?
4.
4. I love it. One more person with a goal.
5.
5. I love it. All right, 10:35. We'll be back then. I will be here in the meantime.
Hey, Allison.
Hi.
So I had somebody sign up for the app, and yeah, I was looking in my command database for like the contacts, and it didn't automatically upload. Is there like a lag in between that, or?
There might be a little bit of a lag. Yep. I would give it a like half hour or so and it should pop in there for you.
Okay. All right.
Congratulations. Good job.
Thank you.
Hey, since you mentioned the app, do you know how to, when I was talking with Lori about it, she said there's a way where when you share the app, it automatically sets you as the default agent versus them having to look it up. Do you know how to do that offhand, or is that a Chelsea question?
It does it automatically as long as the app that you're sharing from is assigned to you and you are chosen as the agent within that app. As soon as you share it and they download it, that same agent will automatically be the agent. The person downloading will not have to take any action.
Huh. Okay, because
the way you
it
make
says
sure
your
of that,
agent and then it has me, and I sent it to my girlfriend just to see what came up, and it had her, she had to select me as the agent. That's why
Okay.
I wasn't sure if
that should be happening automatically. If it's not, that's a Chelsea question.
okay.
Yeah. But that should be, and if not, they could choose. But it really, if the person that if you're sharing from the app, it should have the agent chosen automatically.
Well, yeah, you didn't share it.
No, I shared it from the app to you. Yeah, and it says on mine, it says your agent, Matthew Stevens. Maybe it was really quickly because I did it back to back. Maybe it just was weird the first time, but okay, I'll check it. That's why I sent it to her, because I was curious to see how they receive it.
Sure.
Yeah, because she said the person I sent the app to, she said she had to choose an agent, and I shared it from the app, but
Do you have yourself chosen as the agent?
oh wait, I don't think I had, because there's refer. Do I have to hit that one?
No, you do the share. It actually says share app. Like if you have the app open,
right,
all the way at the bottom right, you go to more. You scroll down to other, and it says share the KW app, and then it just it automatically brings up a thing there who you want to share it with.
That's the one that I sent, and she said she didn't see me at the bottom of it.
So it should be at the top here. When they go into more, the person that's in that dark bar, that's who. Right. Yep. Okay, you have yourself chosen.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So for now, just make sure you're telling them to choose you as an agent. Just make sure you choose me. Okay. And what I'll do is just send an inquiry over to Chelsea and see if there's a bug going on with that or something.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, okay. I modified the text that it sent out, and it said, make an account and choose me as your agent. But yeah, it would be obviously super convenient if it automatically set me as the agent.
Yeah, I know that it's supposed to, so it may just be a bug for the day or something like that. I'll look into it.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
So my new rule is that I'm always going to sit in Panera. I've handed out like 5 cards, and I'm sending this girl an app, the app
Awesome.
link. Yeah, this is what I'm gonna cold. I was telling do you know Shauna Edwards?
I do.
Yeah, so she was the one. She's like my person. She like went to high school with my boyfriend and everything, like. And I was telling her, I was like, I really want like cold calling and door knocking to be a thing. She's like, I literally like, because I feel like that's what I'd be really good at. And it's not legal. It's fine. So I made like 7 calls, and I've handed out 5 cards since sitting in Panera. No, 4.
Awesome.
And I guess I could like be better about this because like I just, it's tough because I'm lazy. Some days I'm really lazy, but like having to like come, because like I was saying, my partner's house is like his door to his bedroom is like slated doors. And so he could hear me and we're both on the phone, so it doesn't work. So this is kind of perfect.
25 minutes and 12 contacts.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's pretty good. I have a call. I gotta go.
Do I have a minute?
I have 11:34, 1 minute left.
Okay. I have to do some, excuse me.
I'm making phone calls too, Allison,
I love it.
but mine's a whole different script.
That's okay.
Mine. I'm doing roster reach out.
Nice, good for you. All right, guys. How was it? What'd you think? Come on back. How'd it go? Tell me some good successes.
It was good. I got a lot of voicemails, so I called a little bit more than I planned, but I talked to one of my friends, Ash and Monica. They actually live in Las Vegas right now, but I know they were talking about buying properties out in Rochester for Airbnbs and everything. So we have a meeting next week to talk a little bit more about it. And
appointment! Heck yeah, good job.
Yeah. And other than that, I just reached out to some people that I used to work with and called my friend at first, but it was good.
Congratulations. Good job. Who else? What was your experiences?
Oh.
I called a few, 4 leads that I was following up on from last week. I had called them on Friday. No one had gotten back to me. I sent a text yesterday. And so now I feel like a stalker now that I'm saying this.
No, you're doing your job. This is good.
So I just kind of followed up and I made it a little bit different. I was like, if I don't hear from you this week, I'll give you a call back on Monday or Tuesday of next week, just so they didn't feel like they had to.
You set the expectation.
Yeah, exactly. If only I could talk. Yes. So I did that.
Congratulations. Good job.
Thanks.
Who else wants to share?
Oh yeah, I made a few. I made about 6 phone calls.
Awesome.
And actually, I had a call back because some of the calls I had to leave a message.
Okay.
But some calls were very. By the way, where are you coming from?
I'm in Binghamton.
Okay. Well, and I made calls. I imply, if they're selling a house or buying a house, or if they're ready for a downsize, if they're moving. I talked about 6 people. And I told them I was a realtor to spread the word, spread the news, give my phone number. About 6 people. And I hope you guys can hear what I was talking about.
No, we couldn't.
That's good. But some people, it was real good conversation. Some of the conversation was kind of long, and I try to, make it short, but I don't want to be disruptive. I want to be rude, so I just kept the conversation going as long as they wanted. Then after I was done, I made another call. After I was done, I made another call.
Awesome. And
sometimes 3 hours. I got to do that for 3 hours. I think I can do it.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, you do. I can talk a lot, about a half hour, so it won't be that much.
3 hours well spent. And I think that sometimes the symptom we kind of fall into is that you end up in these longer conversations than you were anticipating with the people in your world. That's okay, right? Because if you are talking to them, the conversation's lasting a while, then you're reinforcing your relationship with that person, right? And the reason why you called may have been because of real estate, but if you learn a little bit about their life and they feel connected to you over whatever the thing is that they want to talk about, mission accomplished, right? That's a good thing. It's okay for, within reason, you may not want to stay on the phone for 3 hours straight. But at the same time, if you're talking to someone you haven't talked to in a little while and you're catching up, that is reinforcing the relationship. That's the goal. That's okay.
It's like talking to a friend. It's like talking to friends. You just make phone calls, talk to old friends, and you get a few shit and giggles, you know what I mean? And it's fun. It's really fun doing this. For 3 hours, I can do it for 3 hours.
Yeah. Who else? Who else had some good stuff to share? Some wins. How about challenges? Did anyone have any challenges on their calls?
I followed up with a previous lead
Okay.
And so originally her and her husband were looking for a 2-bedroom, or sorry, a 4-bedroom, 2-bath rent for $1,500 a month. And I was like, okay, so here's the thing. And so I called her back today because we actually had an appointment already, and we did a Zoom appointment a couple weeks ago. So I followed up with her today because I had talked to them about how in this situation and what they're looking for, it's going to be easier for them to buy a house. Her husband is stubborn. And so his thing is he doesn't want to buy in New York, which I mean, no, you should. I mean, yes, I work here. So, but I was just talking to her. I was like, I mean, I was just kind of giving her different options to go over with her husband as well, because he's at work. So just like throwing out like, well, if it's the money thing, then maybe you could look at a 2-family. And so that if you wanted to live in part of it and get out of the area that you're in, you could also possibly pay your mortgage by renting out the other side. And she's like, oh, we don't want to do that. And I was like, okay, well, here's another option. If you just keep in mind that if you were to get like a certain loan or whatever, there are different options with that. Some that will require better, like nicer housing. And if you make any kind of upgrades, it always helps to appreciate your home. And she's like, oh yeah, I never thought about that. And I was like, in this market, this is kind of where homes are going if you were to choose to sell again. And so it just like, it's not me necessarily trying to sell her on buying a house, but more like trying to be like, if you were to choose to buy, like go along the lines of getting a home, renting in this for what you want is not going to pay off. And just trying to give her those different options in order to accomplish her goal, which is to get her son out of the school district.
So what I hear there is you understood her goal and you gave her options around it. And ultimately, our job as real estate agents is to uncover goals, ask questions, uncover goals, uncover wants, needs, that sort of thing, and then be the source of information for people to make the best decision for themselves. Right?
Actually, that was the best part of it, is at the end I said, well, if you have any questions about lenders or just like basically anything, I was like, I am a source. I'm your source. I was like, I have everything you could possibly need to know under the sun. And I will help you out as much as I can, or to the best of my ability is what I said. And she's like, oh, that's good to know.
And even if she doesn't end up buying, she may next week have a conversation with a friend about how they want to buy. And she's like, I had this great conversation with Candace the other day. You should probably call her. Right. So every conversation, we don't know where it leads. So good job on not just hearing $1,500, 2 bedrooms and walking away. Right? Because it can go anywhere. Cool. Anyone else like to share? How about ahas from the day as a whole? What did you learn today? Give me something. 3 ahas and you guys can go.
How to communicate.
How to communicate. I love it.
I definitely learned through my conversations, my fillers. The fillers are definitely going to be like a thing for me. So just being able to have that straight conversation without really taking that pause and using that filler and just kind of letting it be and just letting it, letting the conversation grow to what it's going to be. If they want to be interested in, whether it's buying a investment property or, a family house, just to, for school district wise, stuff like that. Definitely want to, just let the conversation roll and let it grow to what is, naturally with the script, but naturally.
Awesome. Thank you.
My aha was literally what you just said that I did, which was like find the hole and give them options. I didn't even know I was doing that. And so that's and this is why we record, right? Or like, so you can see what works and what, so that's my aha. Like, I didn't even know that was a natural, like I've clearly internalized something.
Good job. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for being here today. Congratulations on just getting one more day into Ignite and taking that investment into your future careers. I will see you one more time in the course of Ignite. I'm teaching about seller presentations in a couple weeks, so I will see you again. And I wish you the best of luck and go get some appointments. And I'm proud of you for getting through today. Good job.
Thank you,
Thank
Allison.
you.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate
Thanks,
you.
Allison.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. Happy over the hump day.
Happy hump day.
Y'all tomorrow, guys.